Rayansh stands by the window of the bridal suite, his back to Aditi. He has already loosened his tie, but his posture remains stiff. He doesn't turn around when Aditi enters. "Don't look at me like that," he says, his voice a low, raspy growl. "I didn't choose this any more than you did. Our parents got their peace treaty, but don't expect me to play the part of the happy husband. We stay on our own sides of the room. Understood?" Aditi doesn't argue or try to bridge the distance he's putting between them. She simply nods and starts unpacking her things slowly, deliberately, not looking at him either. "Understood," she says quietly. "I wasn't expecting a honeymoon romance anyway." Rayansh watches her out of the corner of his eye as she unpacks, his expression unreadable. He turns back to the window, hands shoved in his pockets. "Good," he murmurs, "because you're not my type." He pauses, then adds coldly, "And I'm not yours." The room falls silent, except for the rustle of Aditi folding a silk sari. She pauses at his words, then quietly places the garment in the drawer. "Your type, that's a relief," she says without looking up. "I didn't want this marriage any more than you did. So tell me, husband, what asterisk is asterisk your type?" Rayansh's shoulders tense at her question. He turns slightly, his profile sharp against the window light. "Someone who isn't arranged," he bites out. "Someone I choose myself." His voice drops lower, almost bitter. "Someone who isn't sitting there folding saris like a dutiful Indian wife." Aditi's hands still on the drawer, her back to Rayansh. She's quiet for a long moment before she speaks, her voice even. "Well, that's rich coming from a man who just became a husband he didn't choose." She closes the drawer softly and turns around to face him. "Exactly," Rayansh snaps, his eyes flashing as he turns to face her fully. "I didn't ask for this either, but here we are, stuck with each other until death do us part." He laughs darkly. Aditi meets his gaze steadily, her own eyes calm and composed despite the tension. "Until death do us part," she repeats softly. "You know, they say marriages are made in heaven." A small, humorless smile touches her lips. "Ours must have been arranged by the devil himself." Despite his anger, Rayansh finds himself surprised by her wit. He expected tears or silence, not this dry humor that matches his own. "The devil," with a sense of cruel irony. He agrees, some of the bite leaving his voice. "God knows, neither of us wanted this hell." Aditi nods solemnly. "Indeed." She glances around the luxurious bridal suite, her gaze lingering on the large, ornate bed before flicking back to Rayansh. "Speaking of hell, where am I sleeping tonight?" she asks pointedly, arching an eyebrow. Rayansh's eyes snap to the bed, then back to Aditi. A smirk plays at the corners of his mouth, despite himself. "You're standing in the middle of it," he retorts dryly. He watches her face carefully, curious to see her reaction. "Unless you prefer the floor." Aditi crosses her arms. "I'm not sleeping in the same bed as you," she says firmly. "I'll take the couch." She gestures toward the uncomfortable-looking divan in the corner. It's a king-sized bed, clearly designed for awkward silences. "I'll survive one night on that thing." Rayansh's smirk fades slightly. Rayansh's smirk fades as he watches her walk towards the couch. He feels a strange mix of relief and something else at her insistence on sleeping apart. Without thinking, he calls out suddenly, "Wait." His voice stops her mid-step. Aditi pauses, one hand resting on the back of the couch. She turns to look at him, over her shoulder, her expression neutral. "What?" she asks coolly. Her dark hair cascades down her back, her traditional red bridal sari contrasting beautifully against her dark skin. Rayansh hesitates, realizing too late that he doesn't actually have a valid reason to stop her. He crosses his arms, trying to appear nonchalant. "It's a damn uncomfortable couch," he says gruffly. "You'll have a backache tomorrow. Sleep in the bed." Aditi turns around fully, her eyes widening slightly at his gruff concern. She expected arguments from him, not almost kindness. "I'm not sleeping in that bed with you," she repeats sturdy. "You're my husband now, not my roommate. I won't share a bed with you. Husband in name only." Rayansh counters quickly, running a hand through his loosened hair. He looks frustrated. "I'm not going to touch you, if that's what you're worried about." He pauses, then adds in a lower tone, "We can sleep back to back, or you can hog the whole bed. I don't care." Aditi studies his face, looking for any sign of deception or hidden intentions. She finds none, just grudging acceptance and perhaps a hint of something else she can't quite name. "Fine," she says finally, turning away from the couch, "but we stay on our own sides." Rayansh watches her walk towards the bed, his expression softening slightly as she carefully folds her sari before lying down on her side of the massive king bed. He unbuttons his wedding shirt, tossing it on a chair before climbing into his own side of the bed, his back to her. The room falls silent except for their breathing. Rayansh's back is rigid against the pillow, his arms crossed over his chest. Aditi lies stiffly on her side, facing away from him. After what feels like hours, but is only minutes, Rayansh suddenly speaks into the darkness. "This is ridiculous," he mutters under his breath, not expecting a response. "We're married, and we can't even stand being in the same bed." He sounds almost amused rather than angry. Aditi says nothing, but he sees her shoulders relax slightly. Rayansh stays silent after that, closing his eyes and trying to will himself to sleep despite the unfamiliar mattress and the warm presence of his wife just inches away. His breathing eventually evens out, signaling he's fallen asleep. Aditi, however, remains awake. Aditi watches the ceiling, her mind racing with thoughts she doesn't want to acknowledge. The man beside her is her husband now, a stranger she barely knows. Yet here he lies, sleeping peacefully on his side of the bed they'll share for God's knows how many nights. She hates that thought. As the night wears on, Aditi's exhaustion finally catches up to her. Her eyelids grow heavy, and she drifts off to sleep, her face peaceful in the darkness. The bed is large enough that they could both sleep comfortably without touching, but fate has other plans. During the night, they both shift. At some point in the night, Rayansh rolls over onto his stomach, his arms wrapped around the pillow under his head. Aditi, meanwhile, rolls onto her right side, facing him. As they sleep, they gradually inch closer to each other, completely unaware of the proximity they're now sharing. The next morning, the sunlight streaming through the window is what awakens Rayansh first. He blinks his eyes open slowly, disoriented for a moment, before he remembers falling asleep in this bed last night with his wife. His brows furrow as he feels something warm pressed against his back. He freezes when he realizes what, or rather, who ** is pressed against him. Aditi has moved closer in the night, her body curled against his back, her breath warm against his shoulder. Her cheek is now resting against his spine, one arm draped loosely across his waist. Rayansh's breath catches. He doesn't move, doesn't breathe, doesn't dare to. After a long moment of stillness, Rayansh slowly reaches down and removes her arm from his waist. He slides out of bed carefully, trying not to wake her, and walks to the window. He stands there for a moment, rubbing his face with his hands. Asterisk, what the hell is wrong with me? Asterisk Aditi stirs a few minutes later. She rolls onto her back and stretches languidly, her eyes fluttering open. She blinks at the sunlight, then notices the empty space beside her. She sits up quickly, looking around the room, until her gaze lands on Rayansh's back by the window.